Hi, my name is Jimmy and welcome to another episode of Soundtrack Remake. In this video I invite you to join me in the process of making a video game soundtrack. As a reminder, this is neither a cover nor a remix, but rather an attempt to create something different from the original soundtrack. And today, it's spooky time.
Spooky time.
I've decided to create an alternative soundtrack for Silent Hill 2 Remake. First of all, there won't be any spoilers in this video. Every clip I've recorded is from within the first hour of gameplay. There are no major narrative sequences or puzzles. We'll focus solely on the mood of Silent Hill and some enemy encounters. And with that being said, let's depart for Silent Hill. Okay, so Silent Hill 2 really falls in that category of games where every section of my playthrough felt deeply inspiring. I'm actually not a huge fan of horror games in general because, to be honest, they sometimes scare me enough that it becomes unpleasant to play. Silent Hill surprisingly intrigued me a lot and I was hooked from the start when I tried it. Despite its unsettling and eerie atmosphere, I felt something unexpected. It is poetic and melancholic to the point where, to me, it feels peaceful in a twisted way. I mean, if you put aside the creatures, the blood everywhere, and the general derelict town vibe, it is actually mesmerizing to walk around and see the silhouettes of buildings unveiling as you progress through the fog. And that's what I wanted to express with the first track. So, for the first song, I wanted the bass to be tense and dark in contrast to mysterious and melancholic chords, but still minimalistic. So I recorded a simple bass pattern on my microKORG and then added some reverb and a tremolo. Here's how it sounds. The reverb and tremolo bring a disturbing vibe, like a beating heart coming from the fog. Next, I recorded a piano with this phrase. It comes in and out during the track to leave space and not overwhelm the player. And here's a short example of how it sounds like with the bass. As I said, I wanted to keep things minimalistic because adding more instrument could detract from the contemplative nature of the exploration. Therefore, I proceeded to create some ambient sounds, like this feedback sounding synthesizer, somewhat similar to an alarm siren. Or this guitar I transformed using a reverse delay and pitched it down one octave below. It gives the impression of the creatures talking and also kinda like a lost memory trying to reach James, the protagonist. And finally, I recorded another guitar using a slide and a bit crusher for some creepy metallic tones. Actually, there's something more. During the clip, you also encounter some enemies. In this situation, I wanted the music to feel more present and tense. So I played with the cutoff filter of the microKORG and then gradually mixed the piano sound with a bit crusher, reminiscent of the player's radio that indicates the presence of monsters nearby. I really like how weird and overwhelming it gets. And with that, let's see how it goes with the clip.
Hey, wait. Hello?
Okay, so the next clip is set at the end of the first segment of the game. The fog evolved into a sort of storm, I would say, and you have to make your way to your next destination while fighting multiple enemies at the same time. Actually, you don't have to fight, you still have the option to run away if you'd like, but I found it more interesting to rise up to the occasion and smash some monster faces.
Huh?
Which means we are going to make some combat-oriented music. I want to quickly explain what I've done at the beginning of the clip because the fight only starts maybe about 30 seconds in. I followed the same pattern as the previous song. I used an ominous bass, a synthesizer doing weird sounds, and a piano for a touch of variety. Also, I should mention that the weird sounds stays on during the rest of the clip. Following that, I tried various ideas, but I had a hard time settling for any of them. They sometimes felt too intense and sometimes too soft. I didn't want to go for the metallic percussions only that are often used in horror games, but instead I wanted to take a risk and try something different from what I've heard so far. So the idea was to have this weirdly groovy track that would gain in intensity as the player engages in those fights with a hint of epicness. And the sound that inspired this idea was this piano gimmick. The 7/8 metric never fails to create a feeling of rush. On top of that, I once again used my microKORG for bass sound. And also I integrated white noise working as somewhat of a snare, but still playing like if it was in 4/4. Take a listen. After that, I reached a tipping point and I brought a drum into the mix and really decided to lean into the groovy side of things. But I still wanted it to feel weird dark and mean. So I applied a bit crushing distortion on drum. Yes, I know there's a lot of bit crusher in this video. Here's without. And here's with the bit crushing distortion. And now in context. The clip is composed of 2 fights separated by a bit of walking around, and it gave me the chance to elevate the second fight to the next level. But first I recorded a synthetic choir to convey a bit of epicness and strangeness at the same time. To do so, I couldn't just leave it as it was, so I sent it 100% wet into a reverb and some vibrato for some ghostly feeling. A randomized tremolo giving the impression of multiple frets coming from all sides. And of course, you guessed it, a bit crusher. I mean, listen to how nice this sounds. For the second fight, it was fairly simple. I played the same piano riff with some heavily distorted vocal style lead sound, and I assure you that no bit crusher was involved. I also tweaked the drum and bass line in an effort to make everything feel meaner. The gameplay segment ends up with James entering the woodside apartment, which comes as a relief. So, as a final touch, I used the piano one last time to play a single chord that would signify that the player overcame the danger outside. It kind of serves as a reward. At this point, I feel like I took a risk going that direction with the song, so let's see if it works. Thanks to everyone for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you found it interesting, let me know what you thought of the tracks I've made. Did you feel like the second track was a little bit over the top, or should I have gone even harder? I will happily respond to your comments. In the meantime, I'm going back to working on new videos, so until then, take care.